And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary, appreciate you being here answering questions for us. I've got a letter here from the PJM regarding the Brandon Shores Power Facility in Anne Arundel County. And I'm just going to read from it. According to the PJM interconnection spokesman, the PJM region and the state of Maryland are facing future reliability challenges as a result of the announced retirement of Brandon Shores units. Specifically, PJM analysis showed that the deactivation of the Brandon Shores unit would cause severe voltage drop and thermal violations across 7 PJM zones, which would lead to widespread reliability risk in Baltimore and the immediate surrounding area. So let me make that plain for everybody. Brandon Shores, owned by Talon Energy, has entered into an agreement with the Sierra Club to not produce power, And so the PJM, which operates in multiple states and schedules the power from various facilities, is asking that that agreement be held in abeyance until a reliable source can be built. But they're not going to do that. The only thing that's going to save Baltimore from blacking out, from going without power, right, is an emergency designation from the Secretary and the Department of Energy. There's not enough time, even if we wanted to build it, and we don't. And let me be clear here. The alternative is that Pennsylvania, where I live, provides the power, and our land is taken by eminent domain to send the power to Baltimore, who has a perfectly functioning power plant right now in Anne Arundel County. But because of the agreement, they're going to shut it down. So my two questions to start with for this are, is the Department of Energy in support of these type of agreements between the Sierra Club like this, between the Sierra Club and Talon Energy to shut down plants? Number one. And number two, are you committed to the emergency declaration that's going to be required when the plant shuts down for over 1 million customers to have power and live in the 21st century?
Well, I'm not familiar with that agreement. I'd have to take a look at it. We certainly want to make sure that power stays on and that we add additional power to make sure that there's enough for people. So that's why we're working so hard to ensure that we are deploying
clean energy
solutions.
Ma'am, I have the letter. I assure you it is real, and it is dated December 5th of 2023. So it's not new. It's not a new concept. This is coming. And so assuming, let's just do it this way. I don't want to assume on your behalf, but assuming this is valid, you can see the logo up there. We'll have it entered into the record. I'll stake my reputation on what the PJM has offered. Assuming that is correct, are you willing to commit to an emergency declaration so that the lights and the power can stay on for 1 million customers? It's going to require the Department of Energy.
Yeah, we're always willing to exercise emergency authority if lights are going out.
Do you think it's fair that the people of Pennsylvania have to watch their land chewed up to send power to Baltimore when they've got a perfectly well-operating facility? Is that fair that we do that? And the facility can be transitioned. It's coal now. I know everybody hates coal. I do not, but a lot of people do. I'm sure there are scrubbers on the plant, and the requirements just keep on increasing such that the plant can no longer remain viable economically under the conditions that the federal government has set. But is it fair that Pennsylvania then has to provide the power and the transmission across its land for Baltimore?
I think there are other solutions, though. I think that the
I think there are too, and I hope we can pursue them.
But
I hope we can pursue them. I appreciate that, Madam Secretary. In the little bit of time I have left, Representative Biggs talked about the loss of money to the car companies. Ford is delaying introduction of its all-new electric SUV. It lost $130,000 on every EV. The division will lose $5.5 billion in 2024. Tesla saw an 8.5% decline in deliveries. GM lost $1.7 billion in Q4 of 2023. This is all happening at taxpayer expense. The increase in EV usage and sales is wholly by the federal government, right? It's not because the private sector is actually declining. And so with that, while you're here, as a current cabinet secretary, would you commit to saying on the record that you will not support a bailout of the car companies once we bankrupt them, once these policies, that's where we're headed, ma'am. We've already done this before. It cost us $81 billion in 2014. What will you commit to today regarding the car companies that are going to go bankrupt based on these requirements from the federal
Car
government?
companies do not say they are going bankrupt.
When
And
they do. When they do.
They are excited about the trajectory of electric
They
vehicle
don't
sales
seem
into the
excited
future.
to me from...
They are continuing with their plans. They may have slowed them a little, but they are continuing with their plans to
Because
build
they're
electric
forced to by the
vehicles
federal government.
Because there's a 30% increase year over year in demand for electric vehicles.
Only by the federal government, ma'am.
By
Madam
individuals
Secretary.
out there who want to save money as they drive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And gentleman's time's expired. Before I recognize Ms. Bush, did you have something, gentlemen, you were wanting to enter into the record?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to enter this order from the PJM to must produce power to Brandon Shores and Allen Energy.
Without objection to
Thank you,
order.
Chair.
Now, Chair recognizes Ms. Bush from Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.